Welcome to Picks and Sticks. This is our first interview. This is the local band series, interview number 1 with Scott Reeves.
Well, welcome
to Picks and Sticks. Hold on, I gotta mute that. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, so this is the first interview. We got Scott Reeves with the TheScottReevesBand, and I'm really looking forward to this interview and happy to have him. If you could tell us about yourself before we get into some interview questions, that would be awesome. You're muted.
Thank you. All right. Great start, right? So yeah, I'm Scott Reeves Band. I'm Scott Reeves of the Scott Reeves Band. Great start. We good?
Yep.
All right. And in beautiful Middleburg, Florida here, sitting in my home studio, Euphoric Studios. And I appreciate you having me on. Excited to be talking about music and whatnot tonight.
Awesome. So let's get into some of these questions. So the first one is, who are your biggest influences in music?
Oh man, probably my biggest influence is Eddie Van Halen. Even though I played nothing like him, and do a lot of blues, so it doesn't really work well, But a lot of Eddie Van Halen's always playing in my car. Obviously, some of the influences you can hear with me is B.B. King, a lot of Stevie Ray, basically all the three Kings, Freddie King, Albert King, and of course B.B. King tops the list there. And then also Randy Rhoads, just the technical prowess that he has. I've always enjoyed listening to and tried to mimic, but never even getting close to duplicating.
Awesome. What artist, dead or alive, would you like to perform with the most?
Yeah, that would probably be B.B. King. Just I think it would work. It would work well as far as just hanging out. I don't know. I've tried to emulate his, and I'll probably show you a little later. Tried to emulate his vibrato so much, and it'd be cool just to sit down with him. Of course, he's passed now, but if he was still alive, sit down with him and just kind of just jam with him. Not try to play, just hang out, and just play with him.
Awesome. So contemporary artists, who would you say you listen to? They say rock and roll's dead, and there's not a lot of major new bands. You got Van Fleet's out now, and you don't really have a whole lot of new ones. Who would you say you would listen to if you were to, that was contemporary?
That's kind of hard. I don't really listen to that many contemporary bands. Van Fleet, is that the Zeppelin band?
Yeah.
It's kind of, and again, they're playing 70s rock, right? So there's no one, there's no one contemporary out there that is playing and coming up with anything new. It's like you had Hendrix in the 60s, and then Clapton kind of took that, and then after that you had Van Halen. And then you had the whole hair metal and, kind of the guitar virtuoso, Steve Vai, Satriani, Yngwie with the, neoclassical. But really nothing new is coming out now, or at least nothing innovative. So I know Clapton says, rock is dead, and I don't think it is, but it's on life support,
I definitely think it's gotten better the last couple, definitely this last year, I would say, especially, since we had the, we had the Guns N' Roses reunion. I think that helped out a lot. And obviously the Foo Fighters have never really died. They've been going on strong. and now you got the Struts and people like that are coming out of the woodwork. So I think it's getting better. So
yeah, but it's, you're talking about guns, a lot of reunion, a lot of nostalgia acts. Van Halen's been back on the road and hopefully going to be back on the road again soon. But it's, it's more nostalgia, like the Stones doing yet another tour. Kiss is back on the road for their last tour. They're hanging it up, but they'll probably be playing until there's only cockroaches around. With you can throw anyone in the face paint, right?
Right.
But yeah, it's and that's a weird thing. It's like I just listen to a lot of 70s rock, a lot of 80s, a lot of hair metal still. I know we were talking about, you mentioned them Crooked Vultures. I have been actually listening to some Winery Dogs, but again, I don't know if you can really say that's contemporary. It's Billy Sheehan, Richie Kotzen,
Like a super band.
Yeah, and they're from the 80s, No one's really coming out, brand new. And hope to see that change.
Right. Oh, hopefully this I sent a test chat that's I see mine. Hopefully, I don't know if people are trying to.
Yeah, is anyone trying to chime in?
I don't know.
See.
I hope we're not missing something. This first time, sorry guys, I'm kind of a rookie here, but hopefully it'll only get better with as we do these. So Dave Grohl has everybody pretty much knows his ritual before getting on stage, and you got
Actually, I don't. What is his ritual?
Oh, it's a long one, but I mean, they basically start with a 750 of Jaeger, and they take shots of that, and they drink. They take the whole band takes shots, and they do quite a few of them, and then he downs it before he gets on stage, and then he opens a Coors Light and pounds that. But and then Duff McKagan, he always drinks Red Bull before he gets on stage. Obviously they're all sober now and everything, so. But that's his ritual. So I didn't know if you had any kind of rituals before you go on stage to cut the ice or break the ice.
Basically this. Yeah, just kind of loosen up. Years ago, and it's not working for me anymore, I would go get some chicken wings because I'm singing for 4 hours and need to clear up the pipes, loosen up and whatnot. So I'd just get not the hottest chicken wings, but I'd get the second hottest, and it always worked for me. About a month ago, did it before a gig, and just got stopped up, sinuses, can hardly breathe, so can't do that anymore. But yeah, just go. I try to get to the show a little early, set up, make sure everything's working, kind of do a sound check. Usually doing my own sound checks, except for some of the larger clubs with the band. If I'm playing by myself, then I'm doing my own sound. But if we have a band, if I'm doing a band gig with the actual Scott Reeves band, then yeah, we got someone running the board and doing a sound check early in the night then. And so I can just kind of chill out for a little while. But no more hot wings. Not doing that again.
Well, speaking of the Scott Reeves band, so tell me a little bit about that, how that got started, who's in it. I believe your brother's in it, right?
Yeah. And yeah, we'll get to him in a little bit because we got some gigs coming up actually. Try to self-promote, but yeah, it kind of all started in probably high school. I picked up the guitar probably 1990. And took me 2 years to even get comfortable enough and even a little bit proficient enough to get on stage and even, make any semblance of music. So did that. Obviously, my brother was my first influence. You always want to be like your older brother, right? I think you have an older brother, right?
Yep, quite.
And so,
4 of them.
You got 4? Oh, okay. So you know how that is, and trying to emulate them and. So he definitely picked up the guitar first, and I was like, I would definitely want to do that. And so when he was gone, I'd sneak into his room. I think like a lot of us have done, picked up the guitar and started noodling around on it, trying to get different sounds. And so then that kind of morphed into Flak Magnet, which was my first band. And it was really a lot of just instrumentals because I didn't sing at that point, didn't want to sing, and couldn't really find a singer. So we just did a lot of guitar-oriented rock, kind of like a Satriani type stuff, but really more blues-oriented. Did a lot of three-piece, Stevie Ray type stuff, which was kind of easy to do, emulate another trio. Try to play, some Cream and just keep it simple with drums, bass, and guitar. And at the middle of '96, put my first album out, Flak Magnet, which actually sold pretty decent. I think we went aluminum record. We got an aluminum record, aluminum foil, for 150 sales. So that was pretty good. But yeah, we sold it all there were still record stores at the time. So you had, Media Play, Specs was one, a Blockbuster Music. There's a name you don't hear anymore. So yeah, we actually sold in retail stores and did fairly well for about, 9 months. And then realized I'm going to have to start singing because the album was mainly, I would say 70% instrumentals. And figure out, if you're going to go into bars and whatnot, people don't want to just hear 4 hours of guitar rock. I think you and I would, but the general public, they want to hear covers, first of all. And if you're going to do covers, you got to sing. So I kind of was like, well, I'll start singing. And was green as could be, and kind of had a little high voice because I was only like, 18 years old. And obviously it's dropped now, but yeah, it was kind of high pitched and didn't have hardly any range. I came in, and even though I was singing, up here, I was still a bass. So it was kind of a trade wreck as far as singing earlier on. And but as things progress, you just keep doing it and you get better. But yeah, it was basically just a lot of blues heavy and classic rock heavy tunes we were doing, like I said, in a 3-piece. So yeah, my brother was playing bass with us, and we had Andy Thorkelson on drums, and he's actually playing black metal, death metal now, and doing pretty well. So it was kind of weird having a black metal, death metal, drummer, double bass playing blues, So we had our own sound for sure. And so as I was singing and playing, doing a lot of solo gigs, just trying to get myself out there, I was like, well, I started getting a little bit of a name for myself, obviously publicizing in the, still living in Gainesville, Florida at the time, and publicizing in the Gainesville Sun every time I was playing. I was playing a lot at the Swamp right across from, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. Played there for about 3 or so years. So it kind of Flak Magnet morphed into then Scott Reeves and Flak Magnet. And then somehow it just, well, let's just do the Scott Reeves Band, and then I could kind of fill in whoever I needed to at the time as my backing band, because a lot of times it was just like go out and play, and I was playing with just definitely more experienced musicians than I was as far as a rhythm section, which you'll grow up real quick. Remember one time we were at a wedding, I was playing a wedding, and Charlie Hargrid, a Blackfoot, came up and said, "Hey man, you mind if I play with you?" And I was like, yeah. And the guy is a Southern rock legend, and totally sheepish. Yeah, I just kind of withdrew in myself, and I was like, I'm just going to kind of play back here, But yeah, that's how it's kind of just morphed. And now we got, the Scott Reeves Band, which is still progressing as far as musicians. I've been working with Jimmy Lovelace, excellent drummer, for about 10 years now. and he's just a solid drummer. Not a lot of flash, but just almost like a Charlie Watts, just in the pocket type of drummer. And that's where I feel comfortable. If the rhythm section, I always tell them, just you do what you're going to do, and I'll just lay on top of it and go from there.
That's awesome. Do you, you're talking about Flak Magnet. You guys, I mean, do you, and I know we kind of talked, a couple months ago about projects and stuff like that. Do you have any future projects coming up?
No, honestly, I'm just trying to get back into music. I took like 2 years off of it just because, the business end didn't want to do it anymore for whatever reason, and didn't want to put myself out there. I'm a very shy person, kind of, recluse. And I just did not want to be out there on stage anymore. So, either you do it or you don't. And I finally just got fed up with, kind of hanging, kind of wanting to play, but not having the initiative to do it. Finally just said, that's it. I got to get back out there. And so I'm just starting to get back into it now, getting the band back together. Obviously some just, got to start rigorous rehearsals again. And just writing again, finally. Got a bunch of new tunes. I've been writing a new song about, at least once a week. Nothing totally fleshed out, but just, riffs, ideas. And again, a lot of instrumental, having not any vocals yet, but it's coming along.
Awesome. So I kind of dropped the ball on this, but we have your old album, and I was going to try to find it. And Stacey and I were talking about it earlier today. I was like, I got to find that album and or cassette tape or whatever, and show it live here on here. And
well, when you do send me,
I just totally forgot.
I don't know where mine is either.
So we definitely have it. It's just it's with all the other cassette tapes that are in a box somewhere.
Yeah, it's funny, and you talk about that, and I still in my heart feel like there's good tunes on there. They're a little, I don't know, pedestrian, whatever you want to call them. Because I was like, 16, between 16 and 18 when I wrote all that stuff. And so I started revisioning all of the old tunes, and I was like, man, there's something to work off of here. So I started playing, and I like to think of myself as a much better player than I was, 20 years ago? I'm not good at math. Almost, 25 years ago. Yeah. Oh, Lord. So yeah, I want to just revision all of them. Got a much, obviously technology's better than what we were doing. We did it on old 4-track Foztex and bounce tracks. We get a little technical. We had I want to say 6 or 8 tracks on the drums, and we bounced that all down into a sub mix, and then threw that just on one track. So it's recorded, at least the drums are recorded in mono, which doesn't give you that cool pan, when you do a fill, go boom, 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 So now, obviously you can't see all my stuff, like my control room's in here, all my decks and my mixers and whatnot. But in this, what I'm standing on is the main drum riser. And obviously this get up is usually in an isolation booth in that room because it's cranked and doesn't bleed too much into the drums. But anyway, technology, even my setup is a whole lot better than it was back in 1995. So I want to kind of get all those sounds, all those songs, and revamp them, put better licks on them, obviously, than when I was 16, 17, and see what comes out. So that's one kind of long-term project. Right now, I'm just trying to get out. Playing probably about, I wanted to do about 2 gigs a month, and it seems like it's coming a little bit more like 3 or 4, like once a week. now. Took a little bit of a break off. My next one is going to be March 29th, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. And then playing with my brother again, which seems like it's been about a year playing with him at Whitey's Fish Camp in Fleming Island, which is always fun. It's right on the water, beautiful place. And he's playing actually congas and bongos with me now. So I like to say we got a little, Eddie Alex Van Halen thing going there, where I'm playing a lot of, bass heavy notes just to fill it in. But he's got a electronic kick drum that we throw through an Ampeg and blast out and shake the stage with. So that's what I got in the near future, just trying to get back out there.
So that kind of leads into two different questions. I was going to ask you, about your rig, what you've been playing with lately, and also where you guys play a lot. Let's do the rig first, I guess. Nowadays it seems like everybody's kind of, for recording purposes wise, everything's kind of going to lower wattage, 20-watt amps and stuff like that, and where you don't have to blast them as much and mic them. But live, that's a whole different situation. So what have you been doing?
Right. Well, when I'm playing solo or playing with my brother, I keep it real simple. I got a Fender Cyber Twin 212. It's 120-watt amp, so it can push. But really, I don't mic it. I just, it has a line out XLR balanced, and it's kind of weighted, so I throw that through the mixer. I try to keep it as simple as I can when we're on the smaller stages. But when I'm with the band situation, I'll go with these two, which actually using this, it's kind of overkill, but this is my clean channel and this is my dirty channel. And then go through like an ABY switch. So where I can just, instead of channel switching on amps, I'm actually turning the amps on and off or sending my guitar through each amp. So this is like based off old PV Classic 100, which can't even tell. I mean, this is like a 95 and it's tweeds ripping off and everything, getting kind of a patina to it. But
I got the baby brother over there.
Oh,
right?
That's right. You got when they went black. Yeah, the Classic 30, but still,
yeah.
I mean, same circuitry. This is just a little louder. But I use this mainly as, you crank this up and it sounds kind of like a Fender Bassman. It's got a little bit of grit to it, but overall a good Fender type clean. And then, and I even use this for not only clean, but kind of overdriven tones, kind of like a second channel. But when I really want to get a good lead, go through the 5150. And this thing's a beast and hard to really play with unless you're on a big stage because it's so loud. And see, I got it about 5, which is just ear piercing at even 5. But you got to get those power tubes, choking in there. So that's what I use. And the 5150 is kind of like a poor man's Soldano, SLO, super lead overdrive. Basically the same type of circuitry as far as tube stage gains. And then that's going through a 412 cabinet and keep it real simple. Generally just stick a SM57 kind of off axis towards the center. Can't see where my hand is, but yeah, off axis right on the edge of the center of the cone. And I got kind of scrape the paint off where I found the sweet spot on this cabinet.
So do you find where you guys play and stuff, do they have their own front of house usually, or you have to provide that yourself?
Yeah, no, yeah, the larger stages, luckily, like we were doing the landing and whatnot, they have their own front of the house, and generally front of the house is also running the monitors. But I don't play too many places where you have your own monitor guy, on the festival is mainly where you have your monitor guys. So yeah, front of the house, probably, I don't know, I think the landing there are running about 25,000 watts. So a lot of power. Because, landing, I don't know if you've ever been to Jacksonville Landing, but it's right on the water outside, kind of in an amphitheater. And a lot of air, and you're pushing a lot of, you got to push a lot of sound out there, or it'll just get swallowed. Even with like my 100-watt amps, I have them on probably about 6 or 7. So they're,
Oh, wow.
and you don't even hear them, on stage. We got the monitors blasting back at us. One of these days I'll get some in-ear monitors. But I don't know. I don't like having things in my ear. And plus I like the stage volume to where it's, you feel the hairs on your leg moving, get a good breeze going up on stage just from the monitors.
So where can people, where's your mainstay? Where do you guys usually play, and where can people find you? I did plug your YouTube channel on the bottom of this podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, really seems like playing more and more at Whitey's Fish Camp in Fleming Island, and we can maybe throw a link to them. Playing mainly on like Friday nights and Saturday nights out on the deck, and been starting to play more at a really quaint place called Island Girl Cigar Bar. And that's a little different for me, and it's a little challenging for me because the owner, he likes acoustic music. So I bring my acoustic and just go straight into the board, a little bit of delay, a little bit of reverb. And that's kind of challenging because I'm an electric player. Always have been. Don't really feel comfortable with an acoustic. So that's kind of getting me out of my comfort zone. But it's good because, if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing.
It looks like we got one chat message down there from Sun Blossom Records. I believe that is Dancing Light. And it's another group that will eventually be interviewed. I got to get a little better for them. But anyway, they said we're looking good.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad that everything's working, and I appreciate the comment.
So if you could have any guitar, what would you get?
Good question. I would probably go for like a 56 Strat Sunburst in like mint condition, either that or say a 58 Les Paul Sunburst. First year they came out with Sunburst, but they're going for 600,000 now, so don't see that happen.
I think it's more than that now.
Oh, I'm behind the times. But yeah, because I think there's only like 300 out there now. It keeps. I don't know what happens to them, but they're whittling down, and whittle down, the price goes up. So Strat's a little bit more affordable. I remember playing a 54 hardtail Strat, which was going for about 25,000, which is still out of my budget when I wanted to put into an instrument. But but yeah, if money was total disposable income, probably go with those. But just I'm all about the classics. And just
so. What's your favorite guitar in your collection?
My favorite guitar, and this is going to come out really probably odd, but is this. This is my first. This is a West Tone, like a 1990. I think they called it I forgot what they called it. It had some kind of weird name, like a Vulcan or a Spectre or something. But this is my favorite just because I learned on it. It's like my first love. You never get over your first love, and it's like an old friend, man. It just feels comfortable. It's a rosewood fingerboard, and the only thing original on this guitar now is probably the wood. No, the bridge is still original, but it's getting replaced soon. I'm probably going to put like an original Floyd Rose because it's getting a little beat up and starting to pit in here and having intonation issues. But yeah, it's a 59 Seymour Duncan 59 in here. which is well rusted and got a lot of sweat and blood and other gook in it. Then I have a AGI lace sensor in the middle, which I don't use that much. I'll get into that in a sec. And then I think this is a Fender noiseless, which they started putting on their Strat. So it's like basically a quiet 50s single coil. And I've wired it a little odd. This obviously, you can't really see where the switch, but humbucker. And then if you throw it in what is usually the humbucker and middle position, I rewired it so it's humbucker and neck. So it kind of sounds, would not say it sounds like a Les Paul. It does not sound like a Les Paul, but it's a little thicker, you know, because you get the beef up near the neck. And then middle position is actually neck. And then that is, and I've been mistaken a few times on stage, and I was, why is this sounding so bad? The regular Fender position of the fourth position is the regular, what I call the Stevie Ray tone, you know, neck and just a really bell-like chimey, thick tone. And then what's usually neck is middle. And then other little thing I've done, which is stuffed, I think this is a paper towel and old Taco Bell napkins from, I don't know, 98. Just because I hate the way the springs, you take this out and, you know, you hit a like that and it's like a reverb tank, you know,
Yeah.
it reverberates, and I want it dead so you can't hear anything, you know. But yeah, that's basically all I got. I mean, I got this, I threw something, I don't use it. It's a push-pull pot. That's a mid boost. So you get that kind of the clapped-in active mid boost, which boosts it by about like 20, 25 decibels. Gives you a mid range. Kind of throaty.
Is that new?
Huh?
That wasn't original to the guitar, though, right?
Oh no! Someone gave this to me, and it was like, I've never, you know, he just gave it to me. It's like, I don't know how to install it and don't want to install it. And I was like, well, I'll try it. And actually, it actually acts like a kill switch now because the battery is dead. So if you do that, you know, it's gonna go. So use it really as a kill switch. And this toggle switch used to be a coil tap. Here you can see, little mini toggle. Used to be a coil tap, but not using that. Probably gonna I'm thinking of throwing a mini 59 in here, so I can beef it up a little bit more. And actually coil tapping it so you can get the good single coil tones out of it. And then, like I said, probably going to throw another bridge on an original Floyd Rose and maybe a brass block. You know, everyone's going like titanium now. I don't know if you've seen, but everyone's using titanium, but end up, you know, titanium bridge is like $800, you know? So this is like a $280 guitar, so that'd be overkill, but who knows? I may throw some titanium on there just to see what that's all about. It's good enough for the space shuttle, right?
I want to say I saw on, I think it was Philip McKnight, you know, where he does all the like Sharpen Your Axe series, and one of them, I guess you can buy springs that aren't as reverberating.
Yeah. They're like noiseless springs.
But, you know, paper towels are pretty cheap.
Well, yeah, and I mean, come on, who doesn't want to have Taco Bell napkins stuffed in their guitar, you know? And like I said, these are from 99. These are older than my daughter.
Is that from the Taco Bell on Newberry Road where it was our high school hangout?
No, those are that's probably from the 13th Street. Now, the 13th was my my Taco Bell of choice. Usually between 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning. You'd find me there in the drive-thru.
So what's that other guitar hiding behind your shoulder there?
Which, this one or that one? I got it. I guess we'll talk about a few more guitars. This I just got a few years ago. This I played back in the let's see, all the years start running together after a while. I want to say it was late 90s, and kind of got befriended by the local musicians, and one that ended up being one of my mentors was Bud Hill, and he had this. This is a, let's see, I want to say it's a 1989 American Ultra Strat. So they had the American Standard back then they had the Strat Plus, and then they had the Strat Ultra. And basically this is like, I think he bought it originally because it was like the Clapton. I mean, look at it, it's cool. And the difference between this and the Clapton or even the Plus is the lace sensors. This is a blue, which is pretty hot. And then there's I think that's a gold, and then that's a silver. So I'm not totally up on them, but they're definitely different than, the regular lace sensors that they're throwing in all the Pluses. And this has got, a lot of years on it, and it's broken in. The finish is starting to peel. The nitro finish on here is starting to peel, so that's getting kind of cool. Lose a little bit every day. And yeah, I was lucky enough. He was selling it. He was trying to thin his herd, and he was like, "Hey, you want it?" I said, "I definitely want that," because used to watch him play this quite often.
It looks like it's got the thicker neck on it too.
It's a standard, like, early 90s. It's not thin by any means, and I like a thick, what I call Louisville slugger neck. I want a big old honking neck, which is weird because I don't have the biggest hands. I don't think I do. I think they're about average size, but but I always like the big necks, and a lot of people don't, because they're like, well, I don't want to fight with a guitar, but I don't look at it as fighting. I just look at it as like, give me something to work with, which brings me to this next guitar, which I'm currently doing an overhaul on because I do not like the neck on this. It's kind of thin, but love the body. This Scott Reeves signature. See, I don't know if you can see the SR. Can you see that?
Yep.
My logo there. Yeah. This is a Cherry Telecaster. And the only one that exists in the world, because this came out of my dad's friend's backyard, this Cherry. And it's a two-piece. Wow. It's a two-piece. We book matched it as well as we could. Trying to get the glare off, but yeah, you see, it's not really a lot of seam.
Yeah, I can see the seam. Yeah.
Yeah, but you really don't unless you look at it, Right. And so yeah, my dad got this, big hunk of wood, book matched already, stuck it up in the attic, good old Florida heat in the attic for about a year and a half, kind of dried it out before we even touched it. Make sure all the moisture's out, because you always want a good low moisture content with any instrument. You don't want any wood. One, it makes it heavier, and two, it just doesn't reverberate as much. And as much as people don't believe, electrics reverberate. It's a piece of wood, and you got strings on it, and it's vibrating. Everything vibrates on this. So yeah, it makes a difference. So yeah, my dad ended up cut it with a bandsaw. And he did a lot of the finishing work because I do not do well with attention to detail. And inlaid this little, I don't know if it's a G, I don't know what that was. I'll have to ask him. It's a stone of some type. Found it, and I was like, that'd be kind of cool laying there. And so yeah, just a awesome telly, little thinner than most, not by much, probably about, I don't know, an eighth, maybe eighth of an inch thinner than most tellies, but so it makes it real balanced and light. Ended up putting a broadcaster style telly pickup. So it's like kind of a early 50s. I think it was like a 52 telly replica. And same thing with here. These were kind of balanced to being like a broadcaster. And then I ended up, of course, getting bored like I do with most of my guitars, and was like, what if I made this into like an acoustic electric? So this has a Fishman, I think it's a VT Pizio bridge.
Oh,
So
wow.
each saddle is its own, pickup. So you can get that kind of a, nice acoustic electric sound. And it's going into a stereo jack. And so what I can do is with this, I can go full electric, or with this mini toggle, full electric or full acoustic. And I'm going to put a blender in eventually where I can kind of blend and get both. But right now what I do is I just go, it's a stereo jack. So I go Y out, one into the front of the house through the PA, then the other into an amp, and then just control it by volume. And what I have, if I'm playing on stage, tell the Sandman, just turn my amp off, or just, turn the direct into the board off. So that's always fun to play with. And I need to play with this more, but I do not like this neck. It is thin. It's even thinner than my West Tone, which is a fast neck, but and it's rosewood, which I don't believe Telly should have rosewood. That's just a personal prejudice of mine. But yeah, all maple is what I want. So probably going to get a Fender will build necks for you, and through their custom shop. And I may just get one of their rejects, for probably about $400 less. And one of their rejects of like just a 50 style broadcaster, Telecaster, all maple, and throw it on there, and probably improve the sound a lot more too. Because this neck, I swear, it sucks the tone out of the guitar because it's so thin.
When you come up here, you'll have to bring that one here. We'll do a video on that guitar.
Absolutely.
So we can direct input and all that stuff.
Yeah, and throw it through an amp and throw it through the Marschallin, so you can get a good blend.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and it's really trippy if you put your headphones on and you got the electric side coming out of here, and then you got the clean side here. Kind of mess with your head a little bit.
What is it? Parker guitars. They have one that's like acoustic electric.
The Parker 5, and that's what I was kind of trying to emulate with that, but obviously without the Parkers have the tremolo, and so I still wanted a solid Telly, because it's a beautiful piece of wood, cherry, and that's what my dad just. Yeah, I think we went through a Stuart McDonald, and he just stained it it was called like Antique Cherry or something was the name of the stain. So it's really not a color on this. It was pretty red even without it. And then we put a polyurethane lacquer on it, because can't be blowing nitrocellulose in a garage, at least not legally. Which brings me to my last guitar I wanted to show y'all, talking about nitrocellulose. I know you'll appreciate this since you love the Gibsons, but this is a 2013 traditional. And this came about near my birthday one, I guess it was like 2012. And my wife was like, man, you got all these Strats and never had a Les Paul. And she's played a little bit, doesn't play anymore, but she grew up playing on a 76 Les Paul Custom, black Les Paul Custom. And she was like, just beefy tone, And I didn't want, the weight. The difference between this 2013 is they were chambering the bodies. So before they put the top on, they were doing what they call Swiss cheesing, and putting about 9 holes all around here, about this area. And then they'd lay the top over, and you wouldn't even know. And it would take about, 1.5, 1.6 pounds off the guitar, which made it a lot lighter. But I was like, I want to, like they made them in the old days, just big old solid piece of mahogany, And that's why I called this the grand piano, because it weighs in, I think, about 10.1 pounds. So it's pretty heavy, but it's got the tone. And I know a lot of people say, it doesn't matter if weight doesn't matter with a guitar, but hey, if it's a mental thing, works, right? So yeah, this is she got this for me for my 2012 birthday, and this was the first year they didn't Swiss cheese the body. So solid.
Yeah, nice. Cool. So you want to play one of those for us?
Yeah. Let's see how this works. I'm going to have to take my headset off because I don't have another mic on the amp, but let's see. If you want to even chat me, make sure everything's sounding good and I don't have it on mute like I did earlier. Okay, here we go. That work?
Yeah, that's pretty good. A little muffled at the end, about halfway through, but
at least I didn't have it on mute the whole time, right?
no, that's true.
Let me mute so I don't make all the sound.
That was awesome. I appreciate you doing that. Man, I can't wait to hang out with you and jam a little bit.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna have to make it up there sometime. Maybe for the big we'll have to make a big blast of it.
So one thing I meant to ask you. So
yeah,
obviously you played with your brother in a band and stuff like that, and I got two sons that they're one's been playing drums for quite a while, and one's just now starting to play bass like the last year, or maybe a little bit longer than that. But anyway, they're just now starting to get to play together and stuff. And you got any tips or anything like that to keep that positive? And
just let them do their own thing. Try not to correct them too much is what I would say, and just let them experiment. Even with stuff that sounds horrible, they'll figure it out. If it sounds horrible, they'll figure it out. It sounds horrible, right? At least you hope. If it doesn't, if they're doing it the same thing, for like a year and they're like, that ain't working, then let them onto it. But yeah, just let them experiment, because man, I put out some horrible stuff. Ask my parents, I was putting some weird, it's like just two strings. I was like, I got a song, just fiddling around with two strings. Like, no, that's not a song. But but yeah, just let them do whatever they're going to do, and it's just a growing process. They'll hear one thing and try to emulate something that they hear. That's half of the stuff that I've come up with, and half the songs that I've done are all trying to emulate something that I've heard, and hopefully it doesn't sound too similar to something that's already been written. But yeah, just let them experiment.
I mean, could you touch on, how that could, bring you guys, like bring them together, like it brought, you guys together and
Oh yeah, yeah, and it could also, drive them apart. you know,
be quiet.
yeah, it's like, man, what was that mess that you did on stage tonight? No, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's definitely it's a bonding thing because anytime you're playing music was, it's a spiritual thing, right? So you're trying to read their mind and they're trying to read yours, and you start getting on the same wavelength, and then you start covering up for their mistakes and they cover up for your mistakes. I mean, I don't know how many times where I've just, lost where I was, on stage, and then my brother just kind of, he'll do a fill or something, or, just something to kind of, distract from my big screw up. So that's always cool. And it's like, thanks, buddy. So yeah, it's definitely that's great. And I've seen your sons play, and I think they got a natural ability, which is good. Because some, you can just force it, and it's just it sounds forced. But their vibe will just keep getting stronger. As far as trying to, it'll make them closer.
Yeah,
And
if I can get them off Fortnite, maybe they get better.
yeah, that's always a yeah, that's always. But then it's. I thought about that too. It's like I think that's one thing that I didn't want to do anything else but play guitar. You know, um, that was my kind of a. I don't know how much you're into comics, but that was my fortress of solitude. Like Superman, and I could just get in and get in my own world and play. And so it wasn't like you hear about the um, old school of, oh, you got to play your piano for 30 minutes. You got to practice and practice your scales and whatnot. And there is a certain level of practice that you need to do to become proficient in anything you want to do, but especially with music. And you got to just I've gotten sloppy over the years, and I just need to come in here and go back to the woodshed and run scales and get cleaner. I feel like I've because I am playing so much out now, and sadly that's the only time I am playing is when I'm up on stage. That's not enough. If you really want to become proficient, you got to put in the hours. It's what's the old saying, for every hour you're on stage, you need to put in 10,000 hours off stage. And yeah, I believe that. And I need to put some more back into it. So yeah, as far as, balancing and, still want them to be kids, and if they find like they want to do it, they will naturally gravitate. And I was like, I don't really want to play Fortnite anymore. I want to go in the studio and figure something out.
That's awesome. Hopefully they'll do that. If not, no big deal.
Yeah.
But well, I really appreciate you coming on here. And if you guys want to listen to his music and stuff, we got a link down in the comments, or not comments, in the description with his YouTube channel. He's got a couple videos on there that are pretty good. You got some blues on there, and he's the king. I call him the king of blues out of all my friends.
I appreciate it, buddy. But yeah, and go to befriend us, like us on Facebook, the Scott Reeves Band. Going to try to get more social media. I got a Twitter that I don't even touch. It's, I think, the Scott Reeves Band. Don't even know the handle. But yeah, going to start putting out some more stuff. Trying to get the Scott Reeves Band on Facebook a little beefed up, and posting more. So yeah, go over, like us, and we'd appreciate it. And if you're ever
Awesome.
in Middleburg, Jacksonville area, come on down the Whiteys.
Yeah, he's definitely. I still haven't seen you live either. I need, I've played with you in person, but I definitely need to come and watch you live. And I try to see family first before. But
it's a balancing act. I know.
So
We'll make it
awesome. Well, I appreciate it. If everybody likes this broadcast and wants to see other local bands interviewed and get to know them and see where they play and go hear them and stuff. Subscribe to this channel and hit the bell to get notifications and stuff. And Scott, I really appreciate this. You were my first guinea pig. I know it wasn't great, and I got some equipment issues I got to take care of too. But
well, since you started with me, I can promise it'll only get better. But I appreciate it, man. I really do. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Well, everybody have a good night, and we'll see you next time on the next episode.
Thanks, brother.